I grew up in Missouri, close to Kansas City, and one day when I was really young, I found some fossils. They were crinoids. So I kind of had the idea I wanted to be a museum curator. When I actually started work in Pensacola in the first Emmanuel Point shipwreck, which is the 16th century Spanish shipwreck. And so there were 4 of us in place here in Pensacola, and we would dive on the shipwreck. And so, I was also trained as an archaeologist to dive and record the whole structure, and then we'd document the artifacts as we found them. But we'd bring them to my lab, and then my job was to stabilize them, remove the salts, make sure they didn't dry out and crack and warp and all that. And really, we find out as much in the lab as we do out in the field. Then in 2006, doing survey, we found the second ship from that same fleet. And this is the Spanish 1559 colonization fleet, Don Tristan de Luna, who came in here to start a colony. And so we have 2 shipwrecks now from that same fleet, and even more exciting, the discovery of the land site. So now we have that, and we can compare what we find on the shipwrecks to what's found on land. So it really is going to paint a more complete picture of this colonization attempt. We know from the documents the ships came into the harbor, and then really before they'd unloaded, a major hurricane came in, which was described as probably a Category 5 storm. And at the time, there were 10 ships in the bay, and 7 were destroyed by the hurricane. 6 sank in the bay, 1 was driven on shore and destroyed. We expected to find certain things, ceramics and cannonballs and some of that stuff, but it's the things that you don't expect to find, that's what I always get excited about. So the students come and we go down. Most of them get to do 2 dives a day. So when the first one was found, that was what we discovered was the ballast pile sticking out. When as you remove that ballast, then you get down to the actual bottom part of the hull. It's made in white oak and it's in really great condition. We have the complete bottoms of the ships. And the second one we're working on now, we call it the Emmanuel Point 2 shipwreck. That one's turning out to be particularly interesting because we kept finding more and more timbers beyond the end of the wreck, the stern area. So for a while we thought we might have a third ship, but it's looking more like we have a good portion of the upper works of the ship where it had fallen off and it's become buried and protected. And so we're going to be able to really get an idea of what that ship actually looked like. And as far as I know, I think we're one of the few universities, if not the only university, that allows undergraduates to participate in a project like this. And we found out it works really well. Last fall, one of the students was working in the Mastep area, and this odd-looking little device showed up. It had some little arms that would have pivoted on it, and they brought it to me. It was an ivory manicure set from the 16th century. So it's exciting discoveries that we see. In the summer, my standard attire for work is a pair of swimming trunks and flip-flops, and so I can go on, I can work on the shipwreck, but then I'll go back in and I'll get to do the research as well. So it's still working for me to do that. The word, serendipity, one little thing happens, and you don't always think, these one-time little encounters are that important, but then you think back on them and you realize the paths that they set you on. And my path, it bounced around, but really it's what I really kind of wanted to do when I was a kid and stuff.